Hello out there, it's us again, back for the Matinee show, where we're talking about some new movies.
Yeah, 3 of them.
Yeah, this week we had one in the theater, one on Netflix, and one on Shudder, so we got all the shit covered.
Yeah.
Now, the first one we're going to talk about is called Hagazussa.
Yeah.
A Heathen's Curse.
Yeah.
Now, technically, this actually came out, it premiered at a film festival in 2017, and then it got a wide release in its native Germany in 2018, but it didn't come to Netflix until April of this year, which is 2019, so it's fair game.
Yeah. You can tell that this is kind of like an art movie. It's an art film. It's doing what the Germans do. Imagine if some Germans made Mandy. It's an odd movie. It really wasn't to my tastes, but Jenny liked it. It was about witches.
Yeah.
And a bunch of weird shit goes down in it.
It's a very weird movie.
It's shot weird. It's got kind of a slow pacing and trying to creep you the fuck out in the way that a German might try to creep you out.
Those fucking creepy Germans.
This movie's kraut as hell. I mean, I was expecting Dieter to jump up. Fucking, touch my monkey, love it, eat it, stop, it's enough. It could have happened at any moment, but it was creepy.
It might have. All the weird shit that happens in this movie.
Yeah, there's fucking like cannibalism and weird witches coming back from the dead, and I guess possession and roots bleeding and drinking up blood and
loving goats a little too much.
Yeah, bestiality with goats. And then they kill the goat that they had sex with, and it's just weird shit, man. And it's, woman doing, a female witch. Yeah. Yeah. I had a hard time following it, actually.
Okay, I'm going to say this right now. Okay, the movie was directed by a guy named Lucas Feigelfeld, and this is actually his first movie. This was his film school graduation project, and it was mostly crowdfunded. And you can tell that it's very influenced by the 2016 instant classic, The Witch. In the sense that it's set during that time period, but this one's set in the Alps. Now, if you liked the very slow burn, like creepy, atmospheric kind of deal that The Witch had, then you will probably like this as well, because it's kind of similar. I will say that it doesn't have quite as strong a narrative, through line as The Witch does.
It almost doesn't have any damn dialogue.
Yeah, it's almost entirely silent.
Look at the cat moving down. Why are you moving that? Moving the camera.
We can't do anything about her. She's just like...
Well, she's like,
She's like, I'm going to push that right off of there.
She says she looked at me like, well, I need room.
I need more room over here.
Yeah, I need room to lay down. You guys are
just like making it... Yeah. So... Yeah, and this is like, it's basically, I'm going to say it's like a very atmospheric, it's almost more like a mood piece or like a tone poem
She's moving.
than
Pookie. Yeah,
than an actual narrative. Like I said, it's very much an art flick, but if you liked The Witch, then you will probably like this as well. It's set in the 15th century, it's set in the Alps, and it's in like 4 parts, like it's like 4 chapters kind of. And it mostly centers around this woman named Albrun, and she's a little girl at the beginning, and like her mom gets like bubonic plague or some shit like that. But there's like some witchy shit going on with her mom. But then the next 3 are like other, facets of her life. Like, the second chapter is like 15 years later. So she's grown up and she still lives on this like remote little farm by herself, except somehow she's had a baby. But they never tell you where it comes from. Now, there are a couple of implications, like something that one of the other characters says at one point, and one of those 2 things could be true. I'm not sure if they're implying like a supernatural thing, or if they're implying that they think it's a supernatural thing, and they're like making it. Because I feel like the guy that made it, like I read a little bit of an interview with him, and he was like, he really was interested in the idea, not so much of like witches being real, but of people being like, this woman is like really like shunned by like her community because they thought that her mom was a witch and they think she is a witch too. And they're like, if she is mistreated enough, will she just bust out and do the shit that they're accusing her of doing? You know what I mean? So I think he was interested in exploring that aspect you know, and maybe she had like some mental health issues and stuff too, and he was like kind of maybe making a statement about how all of these things and the time period and the people's superstitions and stuff could like come together and make a monster when maybe she wouldn't have been if people had treated her better. You know what I mean? I kind of feel like that was the direction that he was going in.
If you're into this kind of movie, you'd probably like it. I think you know, if you're like me and you know me, you know how my taste. No, to me it came off as kind of pretentious. There was a lot of really slow, long shots on people's faces. Kind of like, you know, it's like shit that Germans do. You know?
And like I said, there's not a lot of dialogue.
Not very much dialogue, and it's just kind of like, okay, I know. All right, next. I know, dude, I know. And then it's just showing you some stuff, and I know now all of a sudden, and then some really weird shit would happen.
Yeah,
and you'd be like, "What the fuck?" And
yeah, because he was like paying attention to something else, and then like every now and then like some weird ass shit would happen. And he's like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Damn, what is she eating? You know, it's just
what is she doing with that goat?
yeah. It's just it is like that. It's not to my taste. I like a fast-paced story.
Yeah. This is not that.
Yeah, I like a fast-paced story where a lot of shit happens and a lot of people say some shit and somebody punches somebody else and something blows up and it like stays on fire for a while. And then somebody's got this like badass car and her titties are like giant, you know what I mean?
Just, the car's titties?
just some chick, you know, it's just I like elements that kind of...
Yeah, this is like the opposite of that.
It's the total opposite. Yeah, I like certain elements that put me into the movie. You know what I mean? So I'm like, yeah, look at that car. You know?
But yeah, like I said, this is very much... I mean, I really liked it because I'm like saying... Because I didn't really know where it was going to go. Like, I just saw it like recommended and it's, you know, came to Netflix this year. And I was like, okay, well, I'm going to sit down and watch this one. So I didn't really know what was going to happen. So I'm just like watching it and I'm just like, man, this is like kind of creepy and stuff like that. And then I'm like, what the fuck? It's like, you know what I mean? It's very much like that. It has... It did kind of give me a little bit of a Mandy vibe.
Yeah, too. The difference is that the pacing on Mandy
was quicker.
So I'm going like, what? No! Oh man! Oh dude! You know what I mean? It's keeping me into the story. This is kind of it's too slow. This is
paced more like the guy that did Mandy, the other movie that he did, the first movie they did, Beyond the Black Rainbow. This is paced more like that because that movie was kind of like this, and there was hardly any dialogue, and like you weren't entirely sure what was happening, but there was like a lot of like moody, creepy kind of shit. It's just a very... And it's weird. It's like a really just a weird like tone poem.
Here's the thing. Sometimes when I think of a slow movie, I think a movie has a whole lot of talking in it, and there's none of it's important. Or it's important, but you don't give a shit. And I get a lot of that from movies where there's a lot of stuff happening, but I don't give a shit. It all just depends on what this topic is and how it's handled and the tone of the movie. In this one, it's not like it's so slow because it's jam-packed of useless stuff. The reason it felt slow to me is that each shot lingered.
Is very long, yeah.
For a long time, just on somebody's face or on the fucking wood line or... something, and it did kind of have a score that's trying to creep you out.
Yeah, I liked the score for this, actually.
Yeah, but the problem is it's not effective with me. Just the way I'm built, I'm like, so what?
Yeah.
So what? Now, if you pick up the pace a little bit faster so I don't get bored with it, because, you know, I don't want to say that I have the attention of a goldfish. I don't. You know what I mean?
I don't even think it's as good as
it's not a goldfish. I don't feel that I have a short attention span. What it is I just have a limited amount of patience for a director. I think that's what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're getting all into the project because they're making it.
Yeah.
But I'm just sitting there kind of forced to watch it half the time. I'm watching a movie that I really didn't want to watch. I'm watching it for the show. It's kind of like my job. So it's already, you know, mood has a lot to do with it.
Yeah.
Has a lot to do with the way you see these movies, okay? So I would imagine if I was big into witches, all right, and was fucking jacked for this movie, maybe I would have reacted to it a little bit better.
Yeah.
But because I'm pretty much indifferent to most movies, the director's already working from a disadvantage with me. You know what I mean?
So you're not the best person to be reviewing movies, is what
not
you're
saying. This. Yeah, I am. You know why? I think so because I think I represent just the average guy.
Yeah, that's true.
You know? So, I'm not even the average film goer or movie goer. I'm just the average guy.
Yeah.
So, if I'd like it, chances are a lot of other people would like it. I can call a winner, Jenny.
Yeah.
I've called many winners when we saw them and says, that's a fucking fabulous movie. And then that movie went on to make a lot of money. Because it can appeal to a dope, basically.
Yeah.
But I'm smart enough to know what they're doing, I know a good movie when I see it. This is not a bad movie. It's just an art movie.
Yeah. And like I said, if you know what you're getting into and you like that kind of thing,
then maybe
like
you
I
might
said,
like
if you
it.
liked The Witch, if you liked Beyond the Black Rainbow, if you like experimental, mood piece type of horror movies, then you will probably dig this because I thought it was pretty cool and
Mandy was also a horror art movie.
Yeah.
But man, I liked the pacing and the dialogue and the context that the movie's coming at you from. You know what I mean? They got the whole acid angle going and everything. I really liked that.
Yeah. This one had a little bit of that because it had she took a mushroom and then she was kind of tripping out and stuff like that. But not as over the top as Mandy
From my
was.
point of view, it was defeating itself. Had he made those shots a little shorter and trimmed maybe 15, 20 minutes of the movie out of basically kind of just long shots, the pacing of the movie might have actually been a little more interesting to me.
Yeah. It reminded me a little bit of Midsummer as well.
Yeah.
Slightly.
A little bit. This one seemed more what's the word I'm looking for? More pompous in a way.
Yeah.
It's taking itself fucking seriously, Midsummer I kind of had that same air about it to me too, but not as much.
Yeah.
A lot of people hated Midsummer. Evidently everybody hated it.
I hadn't heard that. I'd heard that
evidently
most people I listened to really liked it.
I saw a lot of reviewers on YouTube just saying that it was just the worst horror movie of the year. I don't think it was for a general audience. I mean, I understood what I was talking about because I grew up listening to fucking Death in June and Current 93 and all that, weird, early, pagan goth, fucking, what was that shit called? Post-industrial gothic folk type stuff, So I knew the context, but a lot of people don't.
Yeah.
But
see, that's the
thing,
though.
Put a Dubro in there and he's fucking swimming.
Well, yeah.
But,
that's true of a lot of movies.
Right.
But honestly, I like that. The thing that I like about these kinds that I liked about Midsummer that I liked about this movie, I like the people, because it's very easy just to make a very boilerplate slasher movie that, people might like because they're like, oh, it's fun and stuff like that. But it's much harder to make one. So I admire people that want to do something different. Even if it's a failure, it's more interesting to me than just another one of those cookie cutter kind of, slasher movies that they make so many of. And I've seen a lot of them and some of them are okay, but it's you don't really remember them. We even reviewed a couple of them on here, like Mercy Black and stuff like that, which they're not bad movies. They're just another one. Right. There are a lot of them like that. So I always respect when somebody tries to do something different.
Yeah, the word I was looking for was pretentious. This movie kind of has a pretentious air to it.
A bit, yeah.
All right, more so than Midsummer. All right. And I think Mandy didn't really have a pretentious vibe.
Yeah, Mandy was not pretentious.
Not at all. All right, but they were all kind of art.
Beyond the Black Rainbow was a tad.
Was it? Okay.
But I still liked it. It was weird as shit, but
yeah.
But I didn't get that was way more pretentious than Mandy was.
I'm gonna give it a thumbs up. Just depends on what you're looking for.
But it depends on and I'm just gonna say this is definitely not gonna be for a general audience. But if you like more art house type of horror, more like a mood piece, something like I said, there's not much dialogue. But if you liked The Witch, then I feel like you will probably like this because it's similar.
It was just the genre of the movie.
Yeah.
I'm not big into that genre, that that artsy fartsy pretentious shit. But but it was good. Yeah. If that's what you're into.
I like that if it's done well.
Yeah.
But I've seen some that I was just kind of like, no thanks. I mean, I'm a lot more open. I like stupid movies. I like smart movies. I like all kind of movies. I don't care what they are. It's so I'll just watch them. I'm just all right, just show me what you got. And it's most of the time I'll sit through the whole thing.
Yeah.
Unless it's really, really offensive or really, really boring or something like that. But that rarely happens. I usually give it a chance because I don't like to shit on movies that I haven't seen or that I haven't watched all the way through.
Some people might like this movie.
Yeah, and like I said,
not a bad movie.
It's actually gotten really good reviews. I think it's like 95% or something like that. So like a lot of the critics really like it, and a lot of horror fans really like it. Like I said, if you know what you're getting into.
If you like Midsommar, you'd probably like it.
Yeah, if you like Midsommar, if you like The Witch, if you like that kind of thing, then you will probably dig this as well. So it's on Shudder, I think, now. So, or it was when we watched it a couple of days ago. So if you have Shudder, or you could rent it or whatever, so go check it out. Okay, and the next movie we're going to be discussing was one that we saw on Netflix, but also made a brief theatrical run in the United States. I don't know if it played at our local theater.
It did.
I remember seeing it on the app, but that doesn't mean
we never got a date for it. So it never played at our theater, and I wanted to see it.
Yeah.
Wandering Earth.
The Wandering
Earth. It was a Chinese science fiction adventure movie.
Yeah.
And I thought it was going to have something to do with aliens and shit like that, going to other planets, but no, not at all. It's a wild movie. I'm kind of glad that I didn't see it in the theater here, because had we seen it in the theater, they would have showed us the English dub.
I hope not, but
that's what would happen.
Yeah,
the English dub sucked.
This is what happened. Like because we missed it in the theater, right? It's like if it did play here, it was like a day, and like we missed it. I don't even know if it played at our theater or not. But like, so I was like, oh look, they have it on Netflix, and we started watching it, and it was English dubbed, and I'm like, oh man, I hate dubbing. It drives me up the wall.
But she switched it to Chinese,
and then I was like, oh well, maybe they'll let me. So I switched it back to, and I liked it much better. Yeah. It like even made the movie look better,
look and sound better, made everything a lot better.
I hate dubbing.
You want to kind of watch it with Chinese dialogue, which the acting comes off a lot better in Chinese.
It does. That's what I mean.
You want Chinese dialogue with English subs, and movie kicked ass, man. It's fucking bizarre. This is kind of like China proving that they can make a gigantic science fiction movie along the lines of like a Marvel
movie. A big ass tentpole movie.
Right. This is like
this was like right up there.
It's like up there with like Avengers Endgame.
And it made like Marvel movie money too. Yeah. Like when we looked it up on Wikipedia.
Not in the United States, but worldwide.
No, but this has made like $700 million. Yeah. It's like the second highest grossing movie in China of like all time.
Yeah. Imagine you took 2001: A Space Odyssey, 2010: A Space Odyssey, Blade Runner, Prometheus, Alien 1 and 2, and Empire Strikes Back, and squished that all down into one movie and made it a Star Trek movie. It is bizarre. Okay.
Man, they threw everything into this movie. Everything.
And it worked, though. It worked.
It did.
It worked. The science fictions and everything. The what do you call it? The special effects looked great.
Yeah.
Everything. It was actually kind of rational in terms of like certain parts of the science actually kind of worked.
Well, they had like a whole bunch of like real scientists like as consultants on this. That's why.
Yeah. Here's the problem. The Earth it's way in the future, and it turns out that the
2061,
Earth, I think. 2061. It turns out that the Earth is going to, the sun is going to go nova. I think it was going to go nova.
Yeah, it was going to like expand and suck in all the whole entire solar system.
Because something went wrong with its fission somehow. It explained it, but I don't really remember exactly what happened.
Yeah, because I think I was too distracted. That was before I turned the dubbing off.
Now, a rational person would say, let's make some damn spaceships and get the fuck out of here.
Get the fuck out of
here.
But
you're not dealing with rational people, you're dealing with Chinese people. Okay? They decide in this movie to just move the Earth.
Well, everyone on Earth decided not just the Chinese.
Yeah, this is the Chinese telling the story, though. You know what I mean? Only the Chinese would come up with some shit like this, and it's fucking epic. They build these Earth engines, and they just build engines on the surface of the Earth, just on one side of the sphere, and they start moving the damn Earth away.
They're gonna
move it out of the solar system.
Yeah.
Of course, this is gonna fuck up the ecology of the Earth bad, but they have all the animals and all the plants and all the DNA and all the people go subterranean to live inside the Earth, which is logical.
Yeah, they live in like bunkers and stuff.
Yes, it's moving. It's
like
pulling.
underground
The
cities.
atmosphere is kind of looks like it's getting pulled off of it when it's moving. Anyway, they were going to go on like this fucking. They were going to move it like 4.5 light years away, or was it about?
Yeah, it was 4.5. Yeah, it was going to take like 2,500 years.
Yeah, 2,500 years.
It was like a generational.
It's a generational thing. Well, it was all going good. You know, I think a lot of them were in hypersleep, weren't they?
They were, well, there was two things. There was like the Earth, the wandering Earth, the titular wandering Earth. Yeah. And then there was like a space station
that was following
it for guidance or like just to make sure nothing went wrong and shit like that. And he had like a bunch of shit in the
now of course we're having a movie, so shit's going wrong. And what's going to happen is they for some strange reason it goes right by Jupiter. And the Earth starts to get pulled into Jupiter. Something went wrong with some of the engines that were on the surface of the Earth, and I think they were going to slingshot around Jupiter. Was the idea?
Yeah, that's what
to get more speed. But what ended up happening is something went wrong, and it started to get pulled in. So they got in this big adventure of them trying to get the engines back online and get the damn Earth pointed in the right direction and
pull it out of Jupiter's
atmosphere, and it's doing all kinds of weird shit to the Earth. It's a fucking disaster movie.
Yeah, it's a
disaster.
I would probably call it a disaster movie more than a sci-fi. Yeah, I mean, obviously it's still science fiction because it's an Earth and it's going through the thing and there's space stations and shit.
Can't really spoil it. That's just a setup.
Yeah.
All right. I really enjoyed the movie. The acting was good. You had a bunch of heroic Chinese characters in it.
Yeah, like a plucky band of...
Yeah. You also had people from other nations that were in it.
Russian guys.
Russians, and they showed the Americans doing shit.
A couple of Brits in there, maybe.
Yeah. It was cool, man. I mean, the sets were fucking awesome. It looked
fantastic.
It looked like Prometheus a lot. Prometheus.
It did. You could see that was like a big influence.
Alien Covenant, and it looked like certain parts of like when they went in there where the Earth engine looked just like the core of the Death Star. You notice that?
It did, yeah.
And then you could tell they kind of the hypersleep chambers looked like something directly out of Alien. The ship's computer was like HAL.
Yeah.
And it was doing a bunch of HAL stuff, and it was a lot of.
It was HAL adjacent.
Yeah, and then there was like a bunch of stuff that you saw like in 2010, which is a good movie. If you haven't seen that one, that was cool. Yeah, it was cool. And one of the things I liked about it is that they're obviously kind of like setting it up for a couple more films.
Yeah.
Of where they're going to go. Hopefully, they'll run into some aliens or something.
Well, yeah, I would.
Yeah, that's what I would like to see.
Okay, so this was actually based on a novella, which I haven't read, and there were actually some changes. I don't think in the novella, like all the Jupiter shit happened. I think like there was other things going on.
Yeah.
But they added the Jupiter because they needed like more and more like horrible things to go wrong, as the movie went on, because like everything was a disaster, everything, and like so many people like ended up dying and stuff. But I like the fact the guy that made the movie, huge fan of James Cameron. And he wanted to show that, one, that, Chinese cinema, that they could make a movie just like, one of the big, like, tentpole movies, like a Marvel movie or Star Wars or something like that. And he also wanted to show, I wanted to show regular people all coming together and like saving the earth instead of superheroes.
Right. Which I agreed with that.
Which I thought that was pretty cool. Because they're just like regular people and like, and they have to do like all these really difficult things to like save everybody.
Yeah, and mankind's totally getting fucked up. All of mankind is on this Earth ship.
Well, yeah, because it's a whole Earth is moving.
Yeah,
everybody's
they're all working
involved.
together to fucking save the planet.
It's not like you could go anyplace if you didn't agree with the plan. They're like, where are you going to go?
Yeah.
You're stuck here.
So they're all just kind of like sacrificing themselves to save the Earth in certain parts. It was badass flick.
My favorite character was the grandpa.
They were all good.
I liked Grandpa.
He
was so crotchety.
One of the characters is a blonde white guy who's Chinese.
My
dad was Chinese.
His dad was Chinese.
Yeah,
Also, you get to see somebody barf into
But you look at him, he's a white guy.
Nice.
He looks at him, he looks like a white guy to me.
Yeah, I thought he looked
like a total white guy. He's like speaking fluent Chinese.
I thought it was really funny. Yeah. So the thing, though, is that I ended up really liking this movie a lot, but I think when we first started watching it, and we watched probably like the first 10 or 15 minutes with the dubbing, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to sit through all this, because like I said, the only time I can tolerate dubbing is in Italian giallo movies or kung fu movies.
Yeah.
It's like then it doesn't bother me, but any other movie, like any foreign language movie, I do not want dubbing. It drives me up the fucking wall.
And when the dubbing was on, it kind of reminded me of a cross between like a Toho Godzilla movie.
Yeah.
Remember how those were? And maybe remember Battle Beyond the Stars, or what was it? Message from Space.
Yeah,
the Japanese Star Wars Message from
Space.
Space.
The English dubbing is not good, and it made the whole. So in a way, like the first 10-15 minutes, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this movie just because the dubbing was so bad. But then I was like, oh duh, I can change back to Mandarin with the English subtitles.
It's a lot better in Chinese.
And then I was like, oh okay, this movie is. So it's like it's funny how much of an effect had because it took me a long time to like get into the movie.
Yeah.
Plus, like everyone was wearing spacesuits, and I'm like, wait, is that guy in the spacesuit, or is that the other guy? Because everybody has spacesuits on. But so it took me a long time to like kind of catch the wave of the movie and like get into the characters and stuff, just because I was like befuddled by the dubbing.
In English, it looked like a cheap fake movie.
Like I said, it even made it look cheaper.
Yeah,
when the dubbing was on.
As soon as you put the Chinese dialogue, and all of a sudden, oh, this is a real movie.
Oh, they're actually
it's a real movie.
Good actors. Like when you can hear them really talking.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I'd imagine most of the movies we like that get dubbed out into other languages that foreigners see, they probably have that same effect where, man, that was a shitty movie.
I know now it's like I wonder if somebody's ever like written a like scholarly paper on this kind of shit, because it really did affect my enjoyment of the movie, like just the dubbing. Like once the dubbing was off and I could read the subtitles, I'm like, oh my god, this is actually a really good movie.
Yeah, I imagine Star Wars just looks like shit when it's dubbed.
It just makes it cheapens everything.
Yeah, it makes everything look
I mean, I would much rather read the movie because I'm fucking half deaf anyway, so it's like it's good if I can read it, because then I even turn on closed captioning on English language movies, to be honest with you, because I'm afraid I'm going to miss some shit.
But yeah, I recommend the movie. I mean, even a chucklehead would like this movie. It's just a fun movie.
Yeah, it's just, but like I said, it's disaster after disaster, and it's just like a bunch of plucky little characters
action-packed,
coming together and like trying to get through all this fucking horrible shit that's happening to the earth.
No weird political messages, because it's not for us. It's Chinese stuff.
Well, and like I said, it's a very simple happy
story.
Like there's like some family stuff there with like, you know, the grandpa and the grandsons and then the dad, and like they're kind of estranged and stuff. So there's that.
Well, it had one message, man: be brave.
Yeah,
that's really what.
And like I said, we're all on the same boat. I mean, literally in this movie, we're all on the same boat. So everybody's got to kind of pitch in and help.
The world,
yeah. So I liked that kind of message about it. And like I said, all the disasters and stuff like that was really like cool and epic. Really good special effects. And like I said, I guess everybody really loved this movie too, because I didn't realize it made so much money, because it played here like it didn't even play here, I don't think.
No.
But it made like shit tons of money. So yeah, it's on Netflix at the moment, so probably you should go check it out if you like that kind of thing. Okay, third movie we saw this week. We actually just saw it in the theater. It is Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
Damn decent movie.
It was pretty damn decent.
Yeah. If you liked It, the new version of It, it's as good as that, just not quite as hard.
Yeah.
I would. It does have a very good vintage feel, because it's taking place in the 1960s.
It's 1968, it said.
And it kind of reminds me of a really good older Stephen King movie.
Yeah, it did have that vibe.
It kind of has that vibe. It didn't scare me, but I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. It was a lot harder than, say, like House with a Clock in Its Walls.
Yeah, this gave me a similar vibe to that, or maybe like the Goosebumps movie, but a lot scarier. Like
scarier than
it was creepier, gorier.
Yeah. Not as say scary as per se La Llorona, or that whole universe of stuff. It had a retro feel to it, kind of like say Poltergeist 1, and from that era. So like something kind of like that. It's
kind of like hearkening back to the 80s when they did movies, because this is a movie that's very much geared toward a younger audience. It's PG-13, but they got away with a lot. They got
away with a lot of shit, yeah.
They got away with a lot for a PG-13 movie. I mean, it's not a bloodbath or anything like that, but
it was approaching the new It series.
Yeah.
It was approaching that.
I mean, it is more geared toward adults,
yeah,
obviously.
and that's more intense.
And that's like scarier, more intense.
Yeah.
This one, though, like I said, this is very much, it's set in 1968, but it gave me a very much like an 80s feel where you'd have these movies that were aimed toward, you know, tweens or young teenagers, but were like super, super scary.
It was the same kind of writing and direction that you would do for an 80s movie, but you could tell it was modern technology doing all the rendering, and it's taking place in the 60s. And it's kind of weird because, you know, if here in Florida, basically everything's new, all right? But if you live in the Midwest or you live in some of the other cities, you see some of this old architecture that's still around.
Yeah.
Some of these buildings are around from the 60s and stuff. And it's a trip seeing that old stuff. I forgot what it was like. Like, some of it's taking place in high schools that are kind of like the ones I went to in Michigan.
Yeah.
You know, back in the 80s. And it's just kind of good to see. They recreated that whole world.
They really did.
Yeah, cars and everything.
And it's like, the guy that directs it, Guillermo del Toro, did the screenplay. And he produced it also. But it was directed by Andre Overdal, who also did Troll Hunter and The Autopsy of Jane Doe, which are both also excellent movies if you haven't seen them.
Yeah.
Like I said, this very much gave me, because remember we saw that Goosebumps 2 movie?
Yeah.
This is kind of like that, but not as goofy.
Yeah, not goofy.
And creepier. Right. I mean, and anybody of a certain age that grew up, like, this is about our age.
Yeah.
We'll know that this is based on Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, you know, the anthology book by Alvin Schwartz.
I didn't read it. She did, though.
And, yeah, there were actually 3 of them. I think I only read the first one, or maybe the first and the second. There were actually 3 books. The first one came out in 1981. Now, this movie is very much based on the first one. Now, what he decided to do, because when they first optioned the rights to the book, and I think this is, like, going back, like, 5 years or something like that, they were first talking about making this an anthology movie. But then Guillermo del Toro was like, you know, he's like, whenever I see a horror anthology, it's like the horror anthology movie is only as good as its worst story.
Right.
So, and it's never going to be any better than its best. Like, you know, there's always one that's super good and then the rest of them are just meh. So he wanted to do something more that was more like a narrative. So even though this does have aspects of some of the stories that were in the first volume, like, you know, the big toe and that weird one, that Mai Tai, the jangly man and all that kind of stuff. So even though that does have that, it's kind of like folded into like this larger frame story about this group of like dorky little kids, who, I mean, the main character...
They're not really little kids, they're high school.
Well, they're high school, or I guess. They're supposed to be like 14, 15, 16, something like that.
They're high school and they're wild, you know, they're doing the feral shit we did when we were growing up. They're drive-ins and everything, and sneaking into abandoned houses and throwing dog shit on each other and just shit like
dog
that.
Shit.
Yeah, calling each other wetback and stuff. You know, just fucking funny shit. You know?
Yeah, the girl at this who's like the main character, her character's name is Stella. I think in the movie, like, Tom leaned over and whispered, "It's like, hey, that's your spirit animal," because she's like this little girl. She's like kind of this geeky. She has glasses and like she's super super into horror, and she's got like all these old like horror movie posters all over her.
She's not little, though.
I love that girl. Yeah.
She's a teenager.
She's littler than me. I'm just
she's
little, built little.
Right, and it's the good thing about it is that it's not little kids, because they're doing stuff and they're driving and they're going into houses and stuff. It's so. The characters are old enough to be doing what it is that they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, it's
and
not
they're coming face to face with fucking monsters.
Yeah,
you know, and what I liked about it, opposed to say, I'd put this on par with like you said, like a Creep Show and things like that, around that kind of a movie, but they did it in a different way. You know how Creep Show has a bunch of different stories and then there's a wraparound story?
Yeah.
They didn't do it like that. What they did was, this whole story is about a monster that can tell you a bunch of different other stories. Yeah.
And it's kind of like telling you the story of how you're going to die. Like it's writing it into the book.
So, the movie has probably about 4 or 5 monsters in it.
Yeah.
Each one is totally different. It's a totally different experience. So it's just a different way of doing kind of like an anthology in a way. But it's a continuing story with the same characters.
With the same characters also.
Same characters,
and they kind of like, they didn't go super into this, but I think that there was like a mention or two of this in there. But I think the monsters that attacked each particular kid because they each had their own like fate that was gonna like befall them.
They're like custom made for the kid.
They were custom made for the kid. Like it had to do with a story that you read before that like traumatized you as a kid or something. I think there was really only one mention of that. Like later on, like one of the kids like said he had like a dream and then later like it comes true and stuff.
Things that they worried about.
Yeah, and then like at the end, the one character Ramon who says, "Oh, this was a story that I heard." The Jangly Man story. That was the story that had scared him as a kid. Now, interestingly, I had thought... Now, there is CGI in this, like some of the monsters, but I didn't realize until I was, like, looking it up and reading about it that a lot of the monsters are not CGI. Now, the Jangly Man at the end... Some of that is CGI, but the guy playing that character is a contortionist.
Yeah, he's doing some shit.
Yeah, so that's why. So a lot of the shit that he's doing that's like a real guy doing that. Yeah. And I was like flabbergasted when I found out about that. But the monsters, they did a really good job. And like I said, if you're the same age as me and you were into horror, which maybe a lot of you were, and read the first one of these books. The most famous thing about these books, probably even more than the stories, was the illustrations by Stephen Gamel or however you pronounce his last name. Like a lot of people that were kids at the time, like still remember like how scary those illustrations were, and they did a good job of bringing those illustrations to life. Because I mean, the thing is, they were black and white. I mean, so just black and white, like creepy. I think they were like kind of watercolor and ink, and he did like these really creepy like illustrations. And they did a really good job, like, doing, like, a 3D rendering of those, like, on the screen. I think the corpse without the toe was probably my favorite one. Although I really liked that big, pale...
I liked them all.
Fat woman.
Don't spoil them.
Yeah, but, well, no, some of the ones they showed in the... the woman with the toe they showed in the trailer. But, yeah, so...
So did it hold up? Was the book like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, I feel like they might... If this does well, I feel like they might do more...
They left it open.
Because they left it open, and the first volume of Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark, which came out in 1981, had like 29, 30 stories in it. And in this one, they really only kind of did 4 or 5 of them. Just kind of in brief sort of, on the, periphery of what was going on with the main story. So I feel like there's a lot they could do with this.
Yeah.
And I kind of I don't know. I feel like some people might have liked it better as an anthology, but I think it kind of works better like this because you could relate more to the central characters. And I don't know. I liked that the way that he structured it where, this story could go on like forever.
Yeah.
Like because each person is scared of a different thing. And it's like, if this ghost like knows what scares you and is writing a story about what's going to happen to you, then all of them are going to be different. So you can do a lot with that.
Yeah.
So I kind of feel like maybe they should do that. And this movie is a really good one. And I think I might have said this too about when we reviewed The House with a Clock in Its Walls. Yeah. This is much scarier than that. Although I loved that movie because that was my favorite book when I was a kid.
Yeah.
But this is definitely something that if you have like kids, like 9, 10, 11, 12 years old that are really into horror or are looking, they would probably really, really dig this.
They had some kids that age.
Yeah, I mean, there was actually the people in front of us had that a little girl. She was probably like 6 or 7. She had her jammies on and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know if she liked it or not. I couldn't tell. She didn't scream or nothing.
No, they're pretty quiet.
I guess she was all right.
It's a good movie for all ages.
Yeah.
It's not, like you said, it's not goofy. It's funny, but it's
not like the Goosebumps movie.
Yeah, not like it's funny because the shit that the characters say.
Yeah,
but it's not so scary that a little kid can't see it.
Yeah, I mean it might scare them. But
I think it was scaring them, but it was not so bad when it.
But not so bad that
that they wanted to run or anything.
That it would like cause lifelong trauma.
Out of the two, I liked that first episode, that first movie from It. I can't wait till the second one. It was a lot harder.
Yeah, that's more like an adult.
More like what but this can compete with it.
Yeah,
I would say.
Like I said, I'm surprised at how
especially
much
with that rating.
Yeah, I'm surprised how much, because I was like PG-13. I thought it was going to come off like Goosebumps or like a kids movie.
Not really.
Not really. It did, but there was a lot of like messed up stuff happening in this movie.
Like on par with an 80s Stephen King film.
Yeah.
About like that.
And then, like I said, they also said it in 1968, so
Yeah.
there was like a background of like the Vietnam War and stuff like that was going to. I know it's like a weird thing to say, but that was kind of in the background there. But yeah, I mean, I really liked it. The characters, you know, the little 4 characters at the center were likable, and all the monsters were cool. And you know, take your kids to see it. Not if they're super little, but you know, because it is pretty scary, like for a little kid. But you know, it's an enjoyable family flick if your family is all into horror, and if you grew up reading these books like I did, you will probably
looking at the audience. I think most people read these books when they were kids.
Yeah,
it wasn't kids in the audience.
Yeah, I mean, other than the couple that brought their little kid in their jammies, like in front of us, but it was mostly adults. And I feel like this was, and from what I heard people talking about, like after the movie was over, like they were talking about how it compared, like to the books and stuff. But you know, so check it out if you like that kind of thing. And like I said, take your kids to see it if they're into horror. It'll probably scare the shit out of them, and maybe they need it.